I'm colouring a colouring page out of Jasmine Becket-Griffith's book, A Fantasy Art Adventure. This is the image that I'm going to be doing today. I have printed it on Express at Blended card and I am using Copic markers here. So just to start off, I am going to leave her hair till last today because I'm doing it black and the background is quite light. I'm going to do hair last, so I'm going to start with the skin first, and because she is, as far as I know, she's an Indian goddess of some sort, a goddess of war I think she is, so we are going to actually do her skin blue like Jasmine's original image. So first of all, I'm just putting a little bit of RV00 in there just to put some pink tones in her cheeks and around her eyes and things like that first. So I'll just go ahead and add this colour on, and I'm just doing a nice light layer. I'm not worrying about if it's even or anything like that. I'm just putting it on just to lay it down. I'm just adding that same colour to the palms of her hands as well. So just popping that in now, a couple of bits on her fingers and things as well. So I'll just pop that in. So I'm going to start the shadow areas using B02, and I'm just going to go all over the areas that would be darker than the rest of the skin. So where the hair lays on the face, under the eyebrows, around the eyes, and on the nose and things like that. So I'm just going to go in and put that in now. So now I'm going to go over that colour with B21, and I'm going to just blend that out a little bit further. So bringing it a little bit further out towards the lighter part of the paper and going over the top of the previous colour. So we're blending this out to give a smooth transition and blend between the colours. So I'll just go over and do that now. So I blended over that and I brought it a little bit further out to create some more shadow area. So now I'm going to go over that with B00 and blend that in to the next colour. So just exactly the same as what we would do with normal skin colour. So we've got our shadow, our mid-tones and our highlights. So it's exactly the same, it's just that we are using blue for this one. So I've got B00 here and I'm just going over the top of the previous colour and bringing it a little bit further out. So I'll create little gaps where her cheeks will be and things like that with this colour as well. So now I've done that, I'm going to blend that even further out now to the remaining highlight area, and I'm using B00 for this. So I'm going over all of the colour I've already done and bringing this further out over the rest of the white on the face. So I'm doing this all over now. So I'm going to bring in some E000 and I'm going to use that to go over the pinker parts of the skin, so around the eyes, on the underneath the eyebrows there, and also on her cheeks, just to bring out that pink a little bit more. And I'm just going to blend that out again with the B000 just to get that transition nicely between the two colours. Now I'm going to bring that RV000 back over the top of the cheek areas. So just putting that pink back in there now, and just going to put it around the eyes and also just a little bit around the nose and things as well. So just putting that in now. So this is so that we can get some pink-ish tones in her cheeks. I've got some R20 and I'm just going to go into the fleshy parts underneath the eyes there and put this one in. I'm just going to use a little bit on the nose and around the mouth there just to bring them out a little bit as well. And then I'm just going to blend that out with the B000 again. So I put a little bit on her cheeks too, just to show that there's a little bit of a dint there and that her cheeks are chubby. I have a little bit of B04 and I'm just going to darken the shadows just around her eyes with that one. And I'm blending that out now with BO2 again, so just going over the top of that darker colour and bringing it a little bit further out. I'm going to reshadow all of the shadow areas now with the BO2 again, just for our second layer, to get the skin nice and rich looking and some depth in the shadows. So I've got B21 and I'm just going over the top of that again and blending that out. So the B21 has a little bit of a purple tinge to it, so it is making a nice colour or skin colour here. I mean, obviously having blue skin is a little bit strange, but for this particular picture, it is giving it that nice tone in there. So you'll notice in the top parts there that I do flick the marker out towards that highlight area, just putting a little bit of lighter pressure on that area, because then it's easier to blend the next color into it. So that's what I am doing when I'm flicking the pen out like that. So you can see that that darker marker has come out a little bit into that highlight area. So now I'm coming over that again with the B00 and just blending that out. So as you can see, I have flicked it out towards that lighter area up on the forehead there, and also on the cheeks a little bit too, just so that that blend is smoother. So I've got my B000 and I'm just going over the top of the entire area now. So just blending all those colours out and putting this over the top of the entire face. So it's starting to look quite nice now. We've got some shadows, depth in around the eyes, shadow on the middle of her forehead there where the light would be wouldn't be covering her face there because she's got her head down slightly, so that's why there's a shadow under there. And then also over her cheeks. So I'm still trying to keep a little bit of a pink tone to her cheeks and things, but it's only very subtle. So I'm bringing in some RV00 and I'm just going over the top of her cheeks again there with that, just nice and lightly. So I did miss a little bit of video here again, but I will just go over the eyes again. So I'm just using E08 and I'm just lining a few lines into her eyes, and I'm going to bring in a darker brown colour. So I've got E49 and I'm just going to do around the eye there, just where the iris goes in towards the pupil. So I'm just putting that in now. And I've done some grey and some pink around the outside, but I'm going to do another layer of that, so I'll just show you what I've done there. So I've just put a little bit around the pupil, so the pupil is just black in the middle there, and I'm just spreading a little bit of this around. Anyway, I've got the C3 there, and I'm just going around where the eyelid would cause a shadow over the eyeball there as well, and I've just added that in, and I'm going to blend that out with C1, and then I'm going to use the colorless blender and just blend that all in nice and smooth. So that's the grey or the white parts of her eyes, because it wouldn't be pure white. We would have some shadow and shade in there, so I've just done that now. So the pink parts of the eyes there I've already done with the R20, but we are going to come back over and put a couple of dots of R43 in there to darken them up a little bit now. So just a couple of spots, so it's not nice and smooth, it's just randomly put in there. I'm going to blend out around the eye again now with that R00 I've got now. So I'm just popping that in a little bit just to darken up the around the eyelashes and up on the top of the lid there where you would normally put eyeshadow or something like that. So I'm going to blend out the middle of the eyes a little bit further in a minute, but I'm just blending out that R43 with the R20. I'm pretty sure the eyes there were the only part that I did miss in the video, and it seems to happen every video, so I'm coming to expect it, but hopefully it didn't mess you up there too much. But I've just gone over the whole eye area now with E15, and I'm going to do some Y07, and I'm just going to put that inside there just randomly, just to show a little bit of difference in the light reflecting on that there. Now I'm just going over all of the eyelashes, just flicking my black marker out. If you're not sure about using the black marker yet, you could use a fine liner or a black pencil here. Just be careful with it, not to smudge the pencil while you're moving your hand over the image. And sometimes I find too with the black that can happen as well with the black marker. So, but do whatever you feel's comfortable. Don't think that you have to use all markers because you're doing a Copic marker picture. You can mix mediums. I always use gel pens, I use pastels and things like that as well. So there's lots of different mediums you can use together. So you don't have to separate them and only just use one medium there. So I've got some really nice fine liners that I would use on smaller details and things like that. So I'm just using the black marker because I do like the way that it covers over. So I'm just popping that on now. I'm going to do that on both sides as well. So now with the black done, I'm going to use that white gel pen over the top of these colours to put in some highlight areas. So I'm going to do a curve over the eyes, and I'm going to do a few dots in there to show light reflecting off her eyes. So I'm just going to pop those in now. I'm also going to put a couple of dots on the fleshy parts of the eyes. If there's moisture there, sometimes the light can reflect off those parts, so that's why I would put it in those areas. Also, I'm going to put a little bit on her eyelashes, just a little bit to do that there as well. So now I'm just going to repeat the same steps that we've just done on the face onto the skin of her hands and her legs and her arms. It will be a little bit lighter than that on her face because we're not going to add too much pink into the rest of her body. The pink has darkened up the face a little bit, so her arms and her legs, the skin on that won't be as dark as what it is on her face there, so the shadows aren't as harsh. So I'm just popping in with B02 and I'm just going to line all of the shadow areas that I want done. So underneath her fingers, where her jewelry is sitting on her skin, places like that, I'm just going to pop in now and do those. So now we've got the B21 and we're just going over the top of that and bringing it a little bit further out. So now I've got B00 and I'm just going over the top of that again and bringing it further out towards the highlight area. So we're starting to fill most of the skin in now. We will have little spots where the light will be reflecting off, which will leave lighter for the B000. So at the moment we're using that B00. So we've got that B000 and I'm just going over the entire skin now again. So we're coming over the highlight areas and we're bringing it further out towards the darker areas and over the top of the darker areas now. So just giving it some nice depth and some highlights. So we've got that difference between light and dark. So I'm just going to bring in the white pencil there and just put a little bit more reflection into the eyes there. So I'm just going to do the eyebrows. So I've got my black and I'm just doing the edge parts of the eyebrows on each side. Then I'm going to blend that out with some W9 into the middle a bit more, still leaving a bit of a gap. And then finally I'm going to blend that out with W7 and just go over the entire area. So that's the W9 now, and now I've got that W7 and I'm just doing the entire area. I'm going to just start on the dress now, and the bottom part of the dress I'm doing blue. So I'm doing 3 colours in the dress. So I'm using the dark blue, which is, I've got B29 here, and I'm just going around all of the shadow areas and the creases of the dress. So you'll notice that where some of the lines or the wavy lines on the dress sort of dip in, I'll try and put some darker colour in that area so that we can see the dress is rippling as she's sitting there. So now I'm blending that out with B28, so just a little bit lighter out again. So you can see where I've put in the places where I want the shadow to sit and where I want the highlight to sit now. So I'm just going to blend this a little bit further out towards those areas now. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter now with B24. So just blending this out a little bit further towards the wider parts. So we're bringing the shadows closer together so that we still create that look of light in the middle of each of those sections. So I'm doing that now. I'm going out a little further again now. I'm using B23 over the top of both of the previous colours and bringing this further out. So I'm going to go over then with the final colour, which is B21, to do the lightest part of it. So you can already see that there are waves and creases in the dress there from the layer that I've done now. Now I'm just coming over the whole area with the B21. I'm just going to go in over the top of all those highlight areas and fill that in. So here I've got YR4 and I'm just starting to line in all the gold areas of the dress. So I'm doing all of the little pictures on this part of the dress gold. So I'm just going to go around and put a little bit of this in. Now I do change up the colors a little bit to go over the second time because I thought they suited a little bit better, but for now I'm just going in with the YR04 and I'm doing in all of the shadow areas with this color that would be gold. Just going over that with some E53 now. Just blending it a little bit further out towards the highlight area. So I'm coming in now with E50, and I wasn't actually happy with the look. I think it looked too faded out. I wanted a little bit more gold. So I will come back over it with a different blend now just to brighten it up a bit because, yeah, it didn't look gold. So I've changed it up a bit for the sandals here. I'm going to use E15 in the darker shadow areas. So I'm creating the shadows of the gold a little bit darker because yellow blends nicely. The brown does come in and just help give you more of a shadow in that colour. Brought in Y38 and I'm just blending over the top of that and a tiny bit out a little bit further there. So we're creating some nice shadow now. I'm going to go over the top of that with Y35 and just bring that a little bit further out towards that highlight area. I'm going to go over the top of this with Y32 and completely cover the entire area with that colour. I'm going to then go back into the dress and do these colours on there as well. You see now that I've done the dress areas again with that colour, it really has brought it out more and does make it look a lot more gold. Now the top part of her dress is going to be green with gold pictures, so I'm actually doing those colours, so E15, and then I've gone to Y38, Y35 and Y32, and I'm just going to fill out all of these little flower areas on the top of the dress here. So while I have that E15, I'm going to do the other gold areas on the picture as well. So I'm putting a couple of lines in here on her, I don't know, it's called a septum or something like that, there first. So I'm just putting the shadow areas in. So I'm putting a couple of lines on to the left side and a couple on the right there will be as well. And I'm just going to do this all over the gold areas. So her bracelets on the bottom of her sword and her staff that she's holding as well in the other hand. Just to create gold on those as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that as well. So we'll blend out with the next colour on everything there, and then we'll come back at the end. All of the gold areas now that I want to have done. So I'm going to now blend that E15 out with Y38. now I'm going to blend all of that with Y35. I am leaving a couple of white spots throughout as well because I want to give the shiny image or shiny look as well. I will come back over with some of that with the white gel pen later on at the end, but just leaving a little bit of white space on some of those areas. And now I'm going to finish that gold area off with the Y32 and just put that over the entire area. As I said before, I have left some white space just for that glint and shine off the gold. So I'm just going ahead to do all that now. I'm just going to put a little bit more colour into this circle up here. I'm going to use some YR18 to put a little bit of red into it. So I'm just going in the inside circle and on the outside there. I'm going to blend it out with Y38. Still leaving a little white gap there. I'm going to go over that with Y35, fill in a little bit more colour, mainly on the areas that have already filled in. And then Y32. So it has got a little bit more of a red tone than the rest of the gold. So that's all of the gold areas done now. We are going to come in with white gel pen and put a couple of spots in there to lighten them up as well. So the top part of the dress there is a part of the fold over from the middle section, so I'm adding in some R59 into that for shadow areas. So I'm using R59 at the moment, and I'm going to go in and try and miss all the little flowers on here because they're going to be white, and just putting in some shadow. So where the bodice part is sitting over the top of her midsection there, I'll put some darker color, and where the bottom skirt transitions into the top part there'll be a little bit of a shadow there. There'll also be shadow where she'll be sort of bending a little bit in the middle part, so I'll put a little bit of this in there. So that was R59. So I'm blending that out with R46. So I'm going over the top of all of the R59 and I'm blending it out towards, I'm blending it over the whole area now because I want it to be red. So I'm doing that now, and I'll fill in all the spaces between the flowers as well. So just blending that out there, and also don't forget the little top part at the top of her dress there as well. bringing in some YG99 to do the top part of the dress. So this part's going to be green, and I've done it a yellow green. So I'm just popping in the shadow areas now. So there'll be a shadow or a crease line across this part because she's twisted in a certain way. So there is already a crease line that the Jasmine's already put in there. So I'm just going to extend off that and do across to the other side there, and also behind her hair would be darker too. So I'm popping those darker areas in now. Now I'm blending those areas out with YG97, and I'm just blending that further out towards the highlight or the white area. Got some YG95, and I'm going to go over the top of all of the colour again and pop this through into the white areas also. Just going to lighten up the highlight area with some YG21 just to put a bit more yellow into it and brighten it up a little bit. I'm going to use a grey tone to come in and just darken up those shadow areas. So I've got T4, and I'm just coming in to the shadow areas and placing this in. I'm going to bring that R46 back in and go over that area again to deepen the colour up. I'm going to do the same with the green, so I'm using YG99 to go into those shadow areas again and just deepen them up. Blending that out again with YG97. And now I'm coming back in with that YG95 just to lighten up the middle areas a bit. So now we're going to darken up the blue dress again. So we're coming in with the B29 first to do all those shadow areas. And now I've got the B29 and I'm going over the top of that and bringing it a little bit further out. And now we're going to bring in that B24 again, and we're just going to pop this through and into the highlight areas a bit more, just to give this dress a little bit more depth. Starting to look quite nice now. We've got lots of creases and folds, and we've got some nice highlight areas as well. Just got Y32, and I'm just going to lighten up some of those areas on the gold there that may have dulled out a little bit. So I'm just doing that now. I'm going to bring my white gel pen in, and I'm just going to mark out all the white areas on the dress here that were supposed to be white and they've been covered over a bit by the red. So I'm just going over that now. I will have to go over this again at the end just to brighten them up a little bit because the red will come through that white a little bit. So now we've done the dress, we're going to do her lips, and I'm going to do some of her jewels on her head as well. So I've just got R59, and I'm just doing the edges of her lips a little bit in the middle there, and then I'm doing her bottom lip. I'm also going to do the gem up the top on her forehead there. I'm doing the gems on top of her head here. I was going to do different colours, but I decided just to do them all in red. So I'm using that R59 to put the shadows in on those. I'm going to blend all of those spots out now with the R46, just over the top of the previous colour, and bring it out further towards the highlight. I'm going to try to leave a little gap because I'm going to put another colour in there just to lighten it up a little bit. Bringing in YR68, which is a nice bright orange, and I'm going to just soak that area with this and blend that out. So I'm starting from the highlight area, but I am doing it over the entire area. I'm going to use that gel pen again just to mark in those highlight areas on them, and also on her lips. I'm going to start on these flowers that she's holding in her hands. I'm going to start with RV29. Just to let you know too that I will put these colours up in my blog as well, so you have a list of those there, which the blog is in the description, so you'll be able to click on that and go straight to the blog. So I'm just lining in the flowers here. I'm doing a little bit on the top of each of the flowers, of the petals, sorry, and I'm also doing the shadow areas where the petals are laying on top of each other there. So I'm just popping this in, and I'm doing a few streaks out from the bottom there and bringing it back in a little bit from the top as well. So I'm going to blend this out now with RV25, and I'm just going a little bit further out. So I've just moved a little bit closer so you can see that there. So I'm just flicking the marker out towards the white area of the flower, just going over the top of the darker colours as well. So just bringing it further out. Go to do the other one there. RV23, and I'm blending that out a little bit further now. Just coming in from the top and then also from the bottom there. I'll repeat that on the bottom flower there as well. I'm now going to use some RV21 and I'm going to go over the top of that again, just bringing it that little bit further out. So there's only a small white gap there now. I am going to blend out to over the white gaps then with RV10, so RV10, and I'm just going to go over the entire area with that one. So I'm just going to repeat the steps that we've previously made. So I'm going over the shadow areas with RV29, and then I'm going to blend it out with RV25, RV23 and RV21, and then go over the entire flower with RV10. So just putting a little bit more depth in there and giving the shadow areas, the highlight areas, making them a little bit brighter now. I'm going to use the RV10 just to brighten up the pink in her palms here. I've got a little bit of GO2 and GO5 here, and I'm just going to pop this into the stems of the flowers here. So I'm just putting the GO5 around the shadow areas. I'm just blending that out with the GO2. So we're going to start on the tiger now. Just to let you know, I'm not doing anything really neat here. I'm being very rough and quite quick. I'm using RV00 just on the nose and underneath the mouth there. So these areas are going to be covered over with other colours. I just wanted to put them in as undertones. So I'm just going to do this a little bit around underneath his face here as well, and on his paws. So just popping that in first. And as I said, it is really rough. I haven't done it very neat at all. So I'm going to come in with YR16 and I'm going to cover the entire tiger that will be orange with this color, and I'm being very rough. I'm not worrying about any blending lines or anything like that, and I'm missing the areas that are going to be white. So I'm even going over the areas that are going to be black with this, because it still will come through some of the black there, so you'll still be able to see a little bit, and that orange tone will be underneath it then. So I'm just going to come in and do this now. So I am doing it all over, and I'm doing it quite rough. So don't worry about blending it nice and smooth, because we're going to go over this color again later on. Okay, so as you can see, it is quite rough. I'm now just going to blend out a couple of areas where I want it to be a little bit lighter orange. I'm using YR12 for this one, and I'm just going in and I'm just flicking some of these areas out a little bit. What I mean by flicking is I'm doing little lines out from that area on the face, and on the bottom of the mouth here I'm just sort of dabbing that over the top of the previous color. So we're just being quite rough and just blending this one in over the top of the areas where I want it to be a bit lighter, and I've flicked out some of that there to look like individual hairs as well. Just nice and quick and rough. going to bring some warm greys through it. So I'm using W9 first. I'm just doing some darker areas, and I'm going to do all of the parts that are going to be black with this, just to mark them all in. So I'm just going to go over all of these circles that are going to be black now with that. I'm going to add this just around the paw areas, underneath the paw and between the individual parts of the paw there as well, just to separate them and put a little bit more colour into that. So now I've done that, I want to put a little bit of brown through some of the areas to make them look a little dirtier and to give a little bit of shadow and shape to the face. So I'm going to bring in E71, and for this I'm actually going to put little lines on the nose, and in some other areas I'm going to dab it out. So you can see here now that I'm doing the nose, I'm doing little strokes up towards the top, and then I'm going to do some down as well with that, just to create some texture for the fur. And then obviously I'm just bleeding it a little bit out in the areas around the nose there, so it doesn't stand out too much from the rest of it. I'm going to come back over this again later on to bleed that out a bit more. So I'm just doing little strokes out from the bottom of the mouth here, and I'm just going to put them randomly over the body as well, just to add a little bit of colour into the white fur, because it wouldn't just be bright white. So I'm just going in and putting it through here, and I'm going to add some greys as well to do that. So I'm using E71 at the moment to do that. Got a little bit of W5 and I'm just adding this in as well. Just doing the same thing over the top of that and doing some lines down because we want to create a little bit of fur there. Just added this to the white fur on the lower body there as well, just coming out from the orange to the white. Just going to dot down here on the face as well with this a little bit as well, so just spreading that out there. This will be where the whiskers will come out from there. So I'm just coming in now with the next color. So I'm kind of just mixing in these colors all over and doing them randomly, so there's no uniform sort of way that I'm putting them in. So I'm going to put a little bit of a darker brown in now. I've got E15 and I'm just going to bring this in down the sides of the nose there and just put some more streaks in for fur. So as you can see, I'm just adding more strokes to the fur area now. So I'm building up texture on that now. So I've got some W3 and I've just sort of shadowed the nose area there. I'm going to go back over the top there with the RV. I've got RV21 and I've got a little bit of RV00 and still the grey there as well. So I'm just trying to create a little bit of highlight and shadow through that nose. So popping that in now. So I had some RV00, RV21 and some W 3 through the nose. I'm popping in some W9 now over the top of these areas. So I've got some W3 and I'm just bringing this further down into the white area now. So just trying to create some individual strokes and strands of hair. I'm going over that now with the W1 and blending it a little bit further out, so we're making those individual strands a little bit longer, a little bit thicker. I'm just blending around the mouth here to make that a little bit dirtier looking, being the muzzle of the tiger. It's not going to be bright white, so I've just popped a bit of that in there, and I'm just adding this into the fur on the face here and also down underneath his chest there as well. Just adding a little bit of brown into his eyes now. So I've just gone over the entire area. Just use some W5 to go around that again, just to add in a bit of shadow there. So now I'm bringing in some black, and I'm really going to darken up these spots on him. So doing in the nose, around the mouth, and on all of the lines and spots there, just with the black now. I'm going to go around the eyes a bit more and put the pupil in as well, just to deepen them up. So now I'm going to put all white in. So this will be giving some contrast into it as well. And also I'm going to use this to do the whiskers and things like that as well, so coming out from the top of his eyes and also from the sides of his cheeks there. And I'll just put it all over randomly in spots, just little stripes of it, just to give, as I said, a bit of contrast in there and make the tiger stand out nicely. So I'm now going to start with the background. I'm doing RV00 and I've already put in some of the pink into the clouds. So I've just sort of roughly used circular motions to pop that in those areas. I've got left some gaps in it so that I can bring in some other colours. So I've got some yellow YO2 just going in there now with that one. And then I'm going to come back in with some zero colours just to lighten that up a little bit. I'm going to bring in some Y00. I'm just going to do this over the top of the previous colour there to blend this out a bit, and I'm going to put it also over some of the pink areas and in the darker yellows that I've already done. So I'm really just being quite random with this. I'm not trying to do it very neatly. I'm just coming around with circular motions and going over the top of that and bringing it in. I'm going to blend that further out again with Y00. I'm going to come right to the hair on this one. So as I said at the start, we haven't done the hair yet because I am doing it black, and I knew that I was going to be doing this background in like a light yellow color, so I didn't want to smudge that black out into this area at all, so I have done the hair last. So I'm just going over all of these areas now just to blend that other color, the other yellow, out a bit more, and I will pop a little bit of this through in the middle of the darker yellow and things like that, just to give it a more, I guess, more of a look of being clouds. I've got some YR20 and I'm going over the top of the pink entirely with this one, and I'm bringing it a little bit further out towards that wider areas at the tops of the clouds there. So I'm going to do that all over, and as I said, it is just random, but I am going to go over all of the pink with this one. And then I'm just going to blend that out with Y R00. And this time I'm going to fill out the areas completely. So we're going to go over all of the remaining white areas with this and just back into the clouds as well, into the pink ones. So I'm just going to go over and do that now. I'm putting a little bit around some other areas that were inside the yellow as well. Just trying to bring the colours together and blend them in nicely together. I'm going to blend over all of that now with the Y00 just to bring it all in together again. Again, talking about switching mediums there, you could do the background in a pastel colour, you could use watercolours, anything like that. You don't have to use your markers. It is a large area because I'm doing it on an A4 page. So if you're thinking about not wanting to use your markers on that entire area like that, you could use other mediums to mix it up a bit. So I'm just continuing over that now and bringing it towards her hair more, just so I can get that blend nice and smooth. Pop a little bit more Y00 in just to deepen those edge parts of the clouds there, and then I'll blend it out again with the Y00 again. So we're going to start in the hair. I'm using C9 first, and I'm going to go into all of the shadow areas. Now, because her head, the top of her head there is quite wide, you'll notice that I will make a couple of darker shadow areas in there that aren't marked in. And also I wanted to add a couple of different colours into her highlight areas of her hair as well. So all I'm doing to create those highlight areas is I'm just creating a dark patch in between the larger areas of hair. So at the moment I'm putting in all of the shadow areas, and I'm just flicking some little lines out from that area towards the next shadow area, and then I'll go from that shadow area up towards that one. So we're leaving small gaps in the hair that will show shiny sections of hair. So I'm just going to pop in and do this now. I am just starting with the C9 because I didn't want to go straight for black over these areas. So I'll bring in black a little bit later on to deepen up the shadow areas. But I'm using C9. I'm going around all of the pretty jewels on her hair, and I'm just flicking little lines out from there. And I'm going to create, as I said, some depth, shadow and light in different areas on the hair that aren't actually marked in. So I'll go ahead and do this now. I'm going to blend this out now by going over the top of the C9, and I'm using C7 now, and I'm just bringing these little lines out further towards the white area that I've created there. So I'm just going to do that all over. You can see that the highlight areas are starting to fill in a little bit now. I'm coming now in with C5, and I'm blending this a little bit further out towards that highlight again. So we're almost covering the entire head already. Okay, I'm going to blend out further now with this C3, and I'm just really roughly flicking this one out, just mainly over the over and towards the highlight, because I don't want to desaturate the darker colors too much. So I'm just going over with the C3 now. So now I'm going to deepen all of the shadow areas with the black. So I've got my black marker, and I'm just lining in all of the shadow areas and doing some more small flicks out from those areas. So I'm just going to do the entire head with this now. So this will hopefully give us a little bit more depth in the hair, and it'll help to bring out the highlight or the shine on the hair more. I've just got the Y32 marker and I'm just sort of blending out some of the black that did go onto those gems. You can't really notice it as that much anyway, but I'm popping that on there now. So I'm blending out the black now with C9, coming a little bit further out and over the top of that black just to blend this out a little bit. I'm going to put some colour in the shine. So I've got RV02 and I'm just doing the sides of the head with this one. And then I'm going to bring in some BO2 and do the top part there as well and put a little bit on the sides. So I'm just putting this in as a part of the shine colour that's reflecting off her hair. So now I've got some C7 and I'm blending out the C9 a bit now over in towards that highlight section. And now I'm blending that out with C5, just coming a little bit further out. I'm still doing lines and flicking that marker. I'm just doing it a little bit further in towards the highlight area, so I'm not quite going out to the darkest area. I am going over half of that and coming back into the highlight because I don't want to desaturate it too much again. And then I've got C3 again, so just bringing that further in towards that highlight. I'm going to go over the highlight colours a little bit more after this as well, just to make them a little bit brighter. So I've got that BO2, I'm just darkening that highlight area up now. I'm just trying to go over mainly the highlight area. As I said, I don't want to desaturate the other colours. So I've got RV02 and I'm doing the side parts. I'm just going to redefine some of those shadow lines with the C9. So now I'm going to come in and brighten up those highlight areas with the white gel pen. So I'm just going to go over the top of the ones I've already done. I'm also going to put a star on the ring there on the side, and I'm going to put a couple of white spots on the gold areas on the bracelets and her sword and the septum thing that she's holding there. So I'll go ahead and do this, and then I'll come back in and do that sword there for you. So I've got some C5. I'm just going to do the middle of the sword and up towards the tip of the sword. I'm going to blend it out with some C3 and then some C1, and I'm going to put some white highlights on there as well. So I'll go ahead and do that there. But I just want to thank Jasmine for this beautiful image, and I hope that we've done it justice with this tutorial today. I just want to thank you all for watching, and if you did enjoy the video today and you would like to receive notifications on when I do upload new videos, just subscribe. Also too, if you want to share this on your wall or in your groups to help people out, that's no problems as well. Thanks so much for doing that. If there is any questions or anything that you do have, you can join our Facebook group, which the link is in the description below. Also, I'm going to list my colours in my blog, which the link is below as well. So thank you so much again for today.